loosely on you. But now because you have hips, it's now a bit tight. And it's now like short.
Yeah.
And like, even churchy women who come to you and want to cover you up, like cover your legs or something.
The coverers
will come and pretend to hug you and then cover you with a shawl or something. It's like, why are you attaching shame? Like, I left the house.
And they always want to do it in the most public way. To be like, look at this girl.
Hey guys, this is Anesu, aka Nyati Shonga.
Hello, my name is Chido, aka Chizzy. Wagwan, Advocate Amanda here. Hi everyone, this is Kuda, aka Cooks. Hi, and welcome to As Told by Us, the podcast. This is a weekly podcast where 4 professional millennials discuss living in Zimbabwe and trying to figure life out.
Someone once told us the grass is much greener on the other side.
But from where we're standing, our grass is green. Subscribe, like, share, comment down below.
Hello, our lovely listeners. Welcome back to another episode of As Told by Us. Just a housekeeping thing. Koda today will not be with us. She's taking her 1 day leave of the year. And to you guys, you want consistency and you want us to come every weekend, you record and whatnot. So yeah, you might see one person missing at some point during the course of the rest of the year.
Because life is lifing.
Yeah, and we need our leave days too. Taking that paid annual leave. Alrighty. So today's episode is a bit different because we don't have a dilemma per se. I feel like our lives are the dilemma.
We have 6.
We have 6. We have 6 dilemmas. So yeah, we're just gonna get into it. You might have seen by the heading, the topic is mother wounds today. So mother wounds, I'll give a definition first. This is when
dictionary.
Disclaimer, we are not psychologists. We're just girls who like to read around topics. Yeah. So, when a mother offers their child physical but not emotional support, it's then defined as an attachment wound. And this can be, it doesn't need to be your biological mother. It can be a caregiver. So it can be a single dad. It can be your aunt. It can be your stepmom. It can be your grandmother. As long as you have like that maternal respect with that person, that might develop. So that's when, okay, fair and fine, your mom needs to take care of you. She gives you food. She gives you a place to rest. She's paying for your school fees. But there's just that one thing that's missing, which is the emotional support part. So that can then culminate into different things. Psychologists are saying that the mother wound goes for both males and females. So in sons, it develops into an anxious attachment style or an avoidant attachment style. So yeah, guys, if you have like an insecure attachment style and you're thinking, okay, maybe this might be your mother wound, yeah, keep listening. Then you also struggle with feelings of inadequacy, sadness, and extreme anger. Then in daughters, it comes off as a strong sense of shame, continual guilt, and you compare yourself to other women very often, right? And then I'm going to discuss the signs, but I think we should now go into the things we receive from our listeners. Thanks, guys, for following. And when we ask on Instagram or wherever you actually like contribute, that actually makes the discussion so much better. So I don't know. Do you have one, Chiro?
I think I do. So actually, we asked the question on Instagram and also gave like an anonymous link. and somebody submitted an anonymous submission and said, Anzi, I once had an aunt tell me, and I quote, "Ukaslima unoba wanaka." So those who don't understand Shona, it's like, if you lose weight, you'll be prettier. And that kind of comment coming from an aunt, that's a bit jarring. That's triggering. I don't know. Like, what do you guys think?
The funny part is it's such a common thing, especially with the body part of it. And I've heard a lot of that generation justify that, to say that if we don't tell you, no one's going to tell you. Actually, this is how we show love, because this and that you need to know. And they don't really worry too much about their delivery. And if you take it personally, then they think you are just...
It's a you problem, or like you being stubborn.
Yeah.
That, what you just said just reminds me of my mom, because she always says, like, if I don't tell you, who's going to tell you? Like,
yeah,
all the negative things, like all the little criticisms, like my mom will always kind of mask it and say, bruh, if I don't tell you...
I'm just telling you the truth.
I'm just telling you the truth because I love you, so...
But is there no, like, better way to say it? I feel like...
But also, like,
why are we even talking about it?
When people gain weight or are getting to that point where you're overweight, you kind of know it.
Yeah.
And I think it's not that no one has ever told you. And then someone's going to tell you one day that, oh, you would be a lot better off if you lost some weight. I know.
Like, literally, I know. Everybody knows. I'm in my own body. I understand.
Yeah.
I'm the one who's struggling to fit into my clothes. Like, I get it. I need to now buy new clothes. Yeesh.
I also have that weight issue with my mom, and it's been such a struggle to actually try and explain to her like what it does to us. So she'll be like, oh, but I'm just like, I'm looking out for you guys, I'm doing, but we're like, but it's the way you say it. And also, like, if I'm going to the gym and I'm doing all these other things, is it necessary to continue to tell me about my weight? Oh, Asimba, this outfit doesn't look so nice on you anymore. What? So it's been like a very painful experience just trying to like explain that to her. Then I get pushed back and all of that. But now I'm so proud of it because she now knows what fat shaming is. And she knows what fat phobia is. So she's just like, sorry guys, apanakwita fat shaming.
Does she do it in a sarcastic way? Because she doesn't. Because
she does it in a, okay, I see my fumble here.
Oh, okay. See, I have, like, say, for example, like, even my mom or my aunt, sometimes they'll do it in a very sarcastic way. Like, it won't even be a comment about me, right? We could be, like, in public, and then they're fat shaming somebody who's just walking about, like, doing whatever. And then it's like, okay, you guys don't comment on people's bodies, you're fat shaming. And then it's like, oh, but... it's always laced with a bit of like, but yeah, why did she even wear that outfit in the first place when she knows that her body is big? It's like those kind of things where
they find it entertaining. It's like a way they feel like it's probably like some sort of like bonding or something like that. Like they band together, because I've seen it happen a lot of times with family members where they just randomly say, like even someone on TV. Like, we have a food like, yo, whoa. And like the glee and the joy, like, Bambo. I'm like, yo, like, come on.
Yeah.
No offense to the mothers though, but sometimes it's a lot of projection, ladies.
Right?
It's a lot of, yeah.
So is there a good way of even relaying that message? Like, what would be, how do you relay a message like that? Let's say, like, if it's a weight issue, like, how would,
You don't.
You don't at all?
You don't.
I feel like you can, like what you're saying, that you can see someone is not, they're not at their best. I think you can have you can be a sounding board to someone. So you don't approach someone and say, hey, you've gained weight or you're looking fat these days or whatever. It should come from that person saying, oh no, I feel like I need to lose a bit of weight. I need an accountability partner, that sort of thing. Yes, you can be an accountability partner and be like, oh, have you gone to the gym? Have you done this? Have you tried this? Have you done this remedy or whatever? But when it's coming just like randomly, like a total stranger, this person is fat or whatever, like it's not constructive for anyone. It's not helping anyone.
What would you guys say about children?
Oh my gosh.
One, from the mother's perspective, your child is getting fat.
What would I do as a mom?
What would be a healthier way to deal with that? Because I think it's a bit different from gaining weight in your adulthood when you're a bit more independent and they're like judging you for now being overweight. And then there's certain habits that start in childhood because there's people who are big, whether genetically or whatever it is, from when they're young.
If I were a mom, right, I think also keeping in mind this whole like trauma thing, this mother wound trauma thing. If my child would, if I see, okay, here, my child is gaining weight, rather than talk about it and somehow injure them and their self-esteem, I would now maybe take action. So, no sweets, no sugar, no chicken in, if we're gonna have like fast food night, we do it at home. We're not buying out. We try and like kind of include healthier options, so that we are kind of, and we do it all together, not to like victimize the one child to say, oh well, it's you who's gaining weight, so now you must stop having sweets. Like we'll all stop eating sweets in the house. I think that's what I would try and kind of.
I think for my family, weight is like a serious issue. We've got like overweight people on both sides and all of that. And usually, like, if you see someone is gaining, like if it's a child, one of my cousins, he was gaining quite a bit. And my mom and my aunt were just like, okay, guys, this is now a family thing. We exercise regularly here. Then you just make it like an activity. So now you're also like just helping them to make it a habit as well. So like, okay, we go for walks. Let's go for walks. Let's go for this. Just to make sure that they're active without making it seem like they're the problem. Because in all honesty, I feel like you're the parent. Where's your portion control? Where's your what?
Because you teach them and they're young.
So you might as well just like make sure that it's a habit, like eating healthy, like what Chido said, and exercising is now like part of the family.
So why is it different from now when we're grown up? The interventions. Because the sixth question was like, okay, so what does a mom do? Right now, what they do is shame you to get slim. And we've sort of taken the view that, hey, look, when someone has grown up, it's their decision. So...
And there's instances where it's like, even as a grown-up, right, let's say the situation is getting out of hand, and as grown-ups, sometimes we do feel like we're drowning, right? And you do need an external push. Because as a guy, like, we get like, someone, I know people say, bro, you're fat. Like, you're fat AF. Like, do something about it, right? And a lot of guys, unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know, depending on how you look at it, have actually gotten in shape because of that. A lot of guys end up going to the gym. Because if I get the information like, yo, you can get more girls by looking better. Like, niggas will go to the gym. It's like, yo, dude, waka footage.
Really sick.
No, I'm just saying, like, a lot of guys, that's just the reality. That's just the reality.
You love this, a lot of guys.
I think just say I.
I, for the most part, for me, I was actually, like, super skinny. And then I became, like like bigger, right? And for me, it was more of like my younger brother started hitting the gym, and he was getting like super buff, and I was like, nah, I can't be left behind.
The honey's what?
You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I started hitting the gym, and then I just started enjoying being in the gym and stuff.
But okay, so Anisu said something, right? That like this whole mother wound thing is like, it instills a sense of shame in you, right? Which is different from what you're talking about, Six, where a friend can say, like, if Amma says to me, bruh, you are getting thick, right? I don't think maybe there might be shame attached, but it's not as hectic as if a mother, because your mom is supposed to be like emotionally attuned to you, right? She must kind of know the right things to say to make you feel good or whatever. But in this case, like when you have a mother wound, it's like your mom is unintentionally hurting you and like depleting your self-esteem. So imagine there's this person who sent a response again, and she says, my grandmother was very brutal. She called 10-year-old me an ugly, shapeless frog. I was forever crushed. So now imagine, like, she was 10 years old, right? Her body hasn't even, like, she's a child. Her body hasn't even started to morph into whatever, any kind of shape that it's supposed to be, right? But already, like, somebody like her grandma, who's supposed to be telling her, you're beautiful, you're smart, you're whatever, already she's now going into the world thinking I'm a shapeless frog. So already, like, you go into the world feeling you're not well, like, you're not cushioned. You just go in there thinking, I'm an ugly duckling. And you start believing it because your grandma told you that. So, you know. And that just really, like, that will affect your self-esteem forever. Like, no guy will come, like, guys will come and say, oh, I think you're beautiful. But at the back of your mind, you think...
You'll never believe it.
You'll never believe it. And then it just has, like, a ripple effect. Like, we always talk about, you know, self-love or whatever. Like, it's going to have an effect on the way you view yourself. You're going to think, well, I'm not deserving of people who treat me well. Why? Because I was told I'm a shapeless frog, you know. When I read that submission, I was just like, yo. That's
You're
rough.
like, yo, in the studio right now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yo.
You know, it calls to mind this chat around Kanye Mbao and her new face and just generally this new culture of these surgical enhancements, plastic surgery, and something even as simple as makeup and things like that. And I think there's a link there because the way that you're made to feel about yourself as a child, it sort of dictates how you feel about yourself as an adult. Because I think a lot of us have been in the process of unlearning and learning to love the self, because that's a part of femininity that we weren't really shown or got a chance to see. Because if our mothers weren't dealing with it themselves, they were also projecting it on us, where it's just, you know, that hypercritical thing that you get just as a girl, where any little thing, for me, it was always my skin. As a teenager, you know, I would start getting a lot of breakouts on my forehead or whatever. And I mean, obviously I wake up in the mirror, I can see these things staring at me. But then actually both of my parents would feel the need to, you know, highlight and say this and that. And then everyone will come up with all these reasons why this is happening that almost inevitably are your fault. To say that, oh, you're eating too much chocolate, this and this and this, you're not doing this right or whatever. And then you start to have a really difficult time with your skin. and I think I struggled with it a lot because, again, in my 20s, I also had, I'm still in my 20s. In my earlier 20s.
I like how you were.
I have to highlight.
Keep quiet about that because I was like, I like how you are already referring to yourself as a.
No, I'm still in the 20s. It's just that when you have so many older friends,
Oh my god.
you start to feel like you're the same age. Okay. But yeah, I had that acne, and it was I think a hormonal thing. I think a lot of women experience this, where you're just in a fluctuation and things are just, but you always feel like it's your fault. And so now you try all these things, you're trying to do this and that and that. And it's something that I eventually have outgrown. And if I really think about it, I don't think it's anything specific that I had to do to stop it. Of course, I mean, there's a lot of other the factors at play, but I think it's something that subsides naturally. And I still struggle not to take it personally when I have a breakout, because it's just like, oh my goodness, I feel like the world is ending. And yeah, damn.
Hectic. Anissa,
Yeah.
do you have any stories to share?
Well, one from the people. Alrighty. Another submission was, my mom told me to remove my profile picture because people would get the wrong idea. I was in a bikini in a swimming pool, non-sexual, just floating. I'm 30 years old, by the way. That's another. I feel like it goes to your critical, hypercritical mothering.
Yeah, dressing.
There's another one. Yay! Do you know what? I think I've said this before. Like when I was like puberty age, whatever, and like the body starting to pop up and all these things. I remember like this wasn't even my mom, but it was some lady at church who was wearing like a dress.
Ooh, church ladies. Can we have a segment for those?
I was wearing a dress and she was just like, no, this dress is too, like for your body, it's too small. Maybe if you were slimmer, you could get away with it because it was a bit short. So she was like, well, if you didn't have like as wide of hips as you have, or if you didn't, if you were just smaller than you are, this dress would have passed as a decent dress because, it would have been sitting a bit more loosely on you. But now because you have hips, it's now a bit tight and it's now
like
short.
Yeah.
And like, even church women who come to you and want to cover you up, like cover your legs or something.
The coverers
will come and pretend to hug you and then cover you with a shawl or something. It's like, why are you attaching shame? Like, I left the house.
And they always want to do it in the most public way. To be like, look at this girl.
Hey there, lovely listeners. So listen, running a podcast in Zimbabwe is quite the journey. It requires resources. And when I say resources, I mean money, time, and effort. Wondering how you can support us? Well, we've got you covered with Inbox. Or World Remit if you're on the other side of the world and you'd love to contribute. Our Inbox number is 077 810 3171. Whether it's the cost of a cup of coffee or a virtual high five, every little bit of your support counts. Remember, supporting our podcast isn't about funding our caffeine addiction, though it is in part, but your support keeps our podcast alive and thriving and helps us create more content, ensuring that our laughter echoes through your devices. Thanks again for being part of our community and for listening.
But it's like I left the house and I was feeling very confident in myself and in my, but now, you've made it such that everybody's looking at me.
Yeah.
And everybody's shaming me to say, how could you be wearing such a skimpy outfit?
And the funny thing is, when you got to church, when you had your little mass or whatever, no one was looking at you. They start looking at you when this lady comes and now covers you and says, we don't wear this in the church or whatever. Like, everyone had come for God, but you, ma'am, you'd come to inspect people's clothes.
To inspect the whole church room. When we were praying, you were praying with an E.
Basically, she's trying to make an example of you to, like, first of all, make it like a moment. Everyone is looking at you and trying to put a message out there, like, oh, if you come dressed like
if you come dressed like this as well, we're going to do the same thing.
We'll suffer the same. Yeah, dressing is it's a big one for mothers. I'm not quite sure. I'm not, like, what you're explaining, Chido, like, what is the reasoning behind that? Like, are you saying you shouldn't be wearing this because you're enticing men?
That's always the reason.
That's precisely it.
Oh, so you must live for the male gaze, can't. Okay. Not for the Lord that I came to pray for. Okay.
No.
Yeah.
But I'm tempting the man.
Yeah, but I think that's also like a theme just in terms of African mothers.
Yeah.
African mothers love doing that. They love teaching you, I put in quotes, lessons about things that you should prepare for your marriage. So it would be like, you don't dress. You must dress in this specific way. Firstly, you must dress in this specific way to attract a man. So I know with my mom. Sorry, mama, if you ever listen to these. I love you, but damn, girl. Yeah, I've worked through some issues. So my mom used to, like, if I'm just going out or whatever, she still has the tendency of checking, like, what I'm wearing. So she has the tendency of always saying, oh, you're wearing this, why don't you wear that? Oh, you're wearing this, your bum is looking a bit, out there. Why don't you put on a jacket? Why don't you put on this? Why don't you do this, and the like? And then you're like, guys. Personally, I think I have a very specific style. And I'm just like, but you want me to look like you.
Yeah.
And babes, it's not mini-me and whatnot. I'm now an old woman. I'm now 30, bro. Like, I can't be wearing what you wear. So, but as time has progressed, I've also noticed that she also, like, struggles with those things. She struggles with shame and the like, because her bottom half is very voluptuous.
Got a booty.
She's got a booty.
With respect.
So I think when she was growing up, she had people like advancing and saying, "Oh, yeah," and she would
which
then
now
cover
makes
up.
sense that like she'll say, your bum
But my bum and her bum are not the same bum. Bum is not that big. So yeah, I've noticed it's that shame to say, you need to cover. You need to cover up. Going back to this girl's thing though, do you think she was wrong? Like
the mom?
No, the girl, like posting...
or the bikini on your WhatsApp status.
It was just on a profile picture. We're not sure which one.
Profile picture. It wasn't WhatsApp.
She just said a profile picture on... Let me check. Before I lie. Before I say the wrong thing. But either way, guys...
WhatsApp... Oh, the thing is, she said she was floating.
Yeah.
I'm not having an easy time with picturing it. But let's be honest, the bikini is like underwear. And especially if it's like a full bikini pic, your WhatsApp profile picture is not ideal. And that's not even on a body shaming or whatever perspective. It's just from the perspective of, do you really want the first thing anyone you're talking to see is you in a bikini? I think that...
But I think that depends on who you're talking. Like if it's WhatsApp, for example.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe you have two WhatsApp accounts. Maybe you have a business one where you direct people that you don't really,
Yeah.
mess with like that to your business account. And then your personal account is one where you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, but the mom's point in this context was it sends the wrong message. And I think that's a fair point. There's a certain message that's sent from a bikini on my profile picture. In the way that people, even in your personal life, I think, yeah. Yeah, but in general, I think there's a chat there with what, but I don't know. Bikini profile picture is a bit risque. I think people should be allowed to do what they want to do, but mom is just saying, hey,
Why don't you?
this sends a certain message, of which it does.
What if that's the message you're trying to send? I feel like.
Then mommy needs to get with the program.
To relax.
The program, mama.
What if I'm trying to get myself?
So on this, on the topic of, because I was reading something and it basically said mother wounds referred to obviously emotional scars and patterns we develop from our relationship with our mothers or primary caregivers. And they give an example and they say they can stem from, so either neglect, we've spoken about criticism, so where moms criticize, or abandonment, or even overprotection. And I was thinking now, for me particularly, I think I have, mama, if you're listening to this, or whoever, even my aunts and aunties, all of you are within this bracket, I love you guys. But I suffer from mother wounds as a result of overprotection, where it's like, it's almost always a fight to say, guys, I'm not an egg, right? I'm a pet, like, my mom is somebody who is super anxious, right? She's always like, on the edge, like, okay, you're out, what are you doing, how are you coming back home, da, 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 da. And sometimes it's like, yo, just allow me to figure that out, right? Don't coddle me. I don't want to be coddled, because when you coddle me, it breeds things like indecision, right? I can't decide on my own. I can't make decisions on my own without you being involved, or without me kind of like thinking about you or putting you in the center of everything. And I feel like I've had like conversations with my mom about this, where it's like, yo, sometimes I actually feel like I always put you first instead of putting myself first. So I'm always thinking, oh, how's my mom gonna react to this? And I feel like even like as my friends, you guys know, like my mom is like that person. And so you know. We've been through some things where it's like, yo, oops, mama. But yeah, like for me, I find, criticism, all those things, self-esteem, da, 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 da. But for me, what I found, because when I was really thinking about this, I was thinking, criticism aside, for me, it's really like overprotection. Like, let me be who I am, right? With, I shouldn't always I shouldn't be always thinking about, oh, how is my mom great? Like, it's like emotionally regulating my mother, right? Where I put myself aside to make sure that my mom is okay.
Hectic.
Before I think about myself. So for me, that's how that's something that I've identified as like a mother wound, where it's like, I really do be putting her before myself. And then that also sometimes is like issues, it brings up around issues of like boundaries, right? Because then where are the boundaries here? Because I'm putting you first in everything. There's no boundary. This is where you end as a mom. This is where I also kind of start. I don't know if you guys...
It's interesting because mine is almost completely opposite. And I think also because I'm like the third born, but also they're like that with everybody. So my parents, especially my mother, it would be more on the emotional distance part. So I remember even going to uni, you kind of leave home, and those guys really take leaving the nest. Literally, you're gone.
You're out.
I mean, you're sorted for school fees and stuff. But my parents were never the type that like call you. Where are you? What's happening? Like they could literally not call. Like my mom is just not a caller. So I've always seen people, and I've always sort of even admired it, because I remember even Chido, the first time we met, you were with your mom. She came with you like to O Week or whatever. I was there by myself. Those guys left me in a bus in Bulawayo. Yeah, that was it. They left me in a bus in Bulawayo. So even that journey for me was so hectic, because it was like, okay, shit, whatever. I'm on my own now. You know, I had to figure it out. I had to go to Park Station for the first time. You've heard so many things, you know, figure it out and go. Which I guess, like you're saying, there's some good that comes from that, because, you know, I'm as independent as it gets. Like I've known that, okay, fine, now it's time. But then it also looks nice to have, you know, someone who calls to check, to say, okay, like, I mean, it's not that they neglect me completely, but it's literally not to the extent that I've seen with some people that have, where they're like, you know, you'll get a call, the mom is calling all the time, this and that. My mom will not. She'll text every now and then, but even then it's just like, hi, cool, we're good. We've spoken about this, because I think all my siblings have experienced the same thing, and her perspective is that, you know, she can't really deal with it, because she feels like the more she's involved in what's happening, especially when you're not at home, she then will worry too much about this and that. Like if you say you've got a flu, then now she's stressed out. So I guess, but that's the explanation. So
it makes sense.
Yeah. So even when I was looking at this mother wound thing, one of the forms is that emotional distance. And if your mom wasn't really like, you know, the mothery type, yeah, my mom is a real nigga. We just, there was never any, you know, soft, lovey-dovey, you know, expression of feelings. She's obviously more sensitive, but I don't know, in my home, emotions were not really tolerated. It was like, you know, let's get to business. It was, you know, do the thing. So it's brought up some good qualities, but I think me and most, like all of my siblings, have had trouble with being, you know, emotionally aware people and feelings. And, you know, we're even talking about attachment styles in friendships, to say that I'm a more detached friend. And because I've grown up with that kind of setup where, you know, there isn't that much smothering, emotional talk, what's happening, this and that. So I've learned to be very independent, but which is bad. And sometimes because it made it difficult for me to then now start to perceive things in a more emotional way, or understand in certain relationships and friendships when people want more of that, which is like, well, you know, I don't even talk to my mom that much, just so so I don't understand why you want to talk every day. So yeah, so it's interesting. It's very interesting.
Okay, so some other signs for the mother wound. You know, 6, you've been asking, do I have it? Do I not? So you feel like your mom didn't love you, or she loved your siblings more.
Yeah.
You always feel responsible to look after and care for your mother, which is something Chido's mentioned now. It feels like your mom only loves you when you do and say the right things. And then the last one is, you never feel your mom approves of you or accepts you for who you are. So those are the signs where it might be a mother wound.
Yeah, so I got hella mother wounds there. Yeah.
How?
Care to share?
I think first of all, so I was born in Russia, right? And my parents at the time, they were students. So my mom pretty much traveled here to Zim and left me for a time with my grandma. Right, for quite a long time before she came back, and then I spent time with her. So there's a bit of I won't say a disconnect, but it's something I actually realized more as an adult, that like me and my grandma have a certain bond, you know, and then yeah, type thing. So it's tricky because our relationship is cool. I wish we were closer. I think I've been making effort, you know, to make that link better, but yeah, I do feel like there's somewhat of a disconnect there, and sometimes like even when I'm like disciplining or like just like trying to give direction to my younger brothers, like sometimes I feel like I'm being vilified. Like it's like, oh no, you're being too rough, you're being too strict. I'm like, yo, this is just like basic things. It's just like come home at this time or something like that. But when it's coming from me, it's like bully, you know, type thing. It was always weird to me, like, okay, but like, so I can't tell them also, you know, give them direction without feeling some, you know. And then when it came to even like the career choice and stuff like that, sometimes I actually hesitate, like doing like the call with my mom, because it's like sometimes like no progress is enough, you know. It's like okay, I'm in this space, in this sphere, I'm being celebrated for this, I'm doing A, B, C, D, I'm going like, yo, I'm fine, I'm happy, but then it's almost like she just doesn't believe me. Like it's like, nah, but you know, you can always. I'm like, but like I'm currently.
This is what I'm doing.
You know what I'm saying? So it's always that thing where it's like, I hate the fact that when I'm on a call, sometimes it's like this underlying tone of just tension. You know, there's the pleasantries, like, oh, how are you doing? But the how are you doing is deeper. It's the way she's saying how you doing. You know, and your fine is never fine. Are you really fine? I'm like, I'm okay. Like, I am good, you know. And sometimes I see be it other artists, you know, other guys, etc., where it's like their families actually like really show up and be like, yo, whatever you're doing, it's cool. But the weird part is like when you're in high school, you get like a lot of like, do your own thing. Don't be like your friends. Then you get older, it's like, look at what other people are doing.
Be like your friends.
Be like your
Why
friends.
can't you be like so and so?
You know?
That's another thing.
So it's tricky. So I think my whole defense towards it was just kind of like really being like tough skin and just being stubborn about certain things. Where it's like I just have to put my foot down and actually go like, if I keep on conceding to this, ultimately it gives me stress. It gives me, because I remember there's this particular week where like, you know, one of those weeks where everything, the stars are aligning, you're so happy. Then I had a call with my mom this one Friday. And it's like ruined the next like 2 weeks just for that call. Because it was just like, yo, A, B, C, D, this, and that, what. And I'm like, yo, I just wanted to call and just be told.
Share
like,
with you.
Yeah, like I'm tough, but then now I can't share good news. I can't share. So it also then manifests in like relationships where it's like, if I'm with a hun and like, if I feel like she's not like participating in the joy, like sometimes just genuine like little things, and it's just like it's just doing me the same way my mom.
Yeah.
You know, and
Like just being happy for you.
exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
You know, you've reminded me of my little cousin. He so talented in like hip hop, great voice, you know, was starting a career. Very young, was you know, doing it for fun. But it was so interesting because it was a secret from his mom. Because she was, you know, super churchy, you know, hip hop is evil, you know, don't pursue this type of thing. So she literally didn't know. This boy, you know, he won a whole competition for like composing a jingle for like, a company, and his song was literally on the radio all the time. My parents are big fans, whatever. It became like so big that she had to then find out, obviously, eventually. But then, I mean, he had so much fear and apprehension around it because she was so disapproving of that kind of thing. I think now, obviously, she's come around and he hasn't really pursued it as his primary thing. But even him not pursuing it as his primary thing, I think has a lot to do with that, because you really have to go against the grain. And I think with African mothers, African parents, it's usually when it's something that they don't understand or own fears that they have, because you might find that they actually might have had this desire or inclination in the past, and then they had to kill that thing because they thought that's the way to go. So the tough part about it is it really comes from a place of love. But then it just turns into this thing where they're even hurting themselves and hurting you. And like, literally the whole extended family were all fans of him. He's like great. His music is like really, really good. I think he could have been the next big thing. But then just that aspect, I think, made it difficult. So yeah, I think it's tough.
It's tough, and
It's tough.
Especially like if they, because my whole thing was like, okay, the whole narrative from the start was like you're the firstborn.
Yeah.
You have to do certain things, right? So like in school, the pressure would be super high. I had to be in the best class. I had to be performing. So like I had like my academic like rigorous thing was like hectic. It was like, yo, you have to be, so I had to be like putting good grades and stuff like that. So when I graduated and stuff, I felt like, you know what? I've done it. Like, look, I've done everything.
Done everything you wanted.
You know what I'm saying? If you want to use me as an example, it's like, yo, I have the degree, I have the awards, I have whatnot, But now, if I don't, like, do this other side, which that it's been there for the longest time, And the truth is, like, their input has so much weight.
Yeah.
And you're like, yo, I actually am doing this in a responsible way. I'm trying to actually make it a sustainable thing. And like, I'm taking into consideration all these things. So when I do make progress, it's like, sometimes it's kind of like, okay, I feel like if I was working a regular 9 to 5 and I did way less than I'm doing right now, you'd be way happier than stuff which I do right now, So it's really something which you kind of have to deal with. And the worst part is that, like, sometimes you're talking to your sibling, it's like, yeah, your mom was saying this, and you're like, but
why are you not talking to me?
You know what I'm saying? Like you have my number, like you can really talk to me about this, but then like the stuff that happens behind the scenes is also stuff which is just like, oh, fam. So sometimes I go for like some time when I'm just not talking, to my mom. It's not like I don't love her or anything like that. It's just that I know my peace is at stake if I talk to her. She's not asking me all these questions and everything. Everything is just like from a lens of like fear. Like it's always like, okay, oh, you're working with these guys. Okay, so they can give you employment. I'm like, like, yo, and the worst part is like, for the most part, you're actually very independent. You're doing your own thing, but for some reason, it's always that chat. And there are a lot of artists who come here, who come through and record, say, look, I'm hiding this for my parents.
Right.
Like they don't want to hear anything about this, and it's quite unfortunate, but it is what it is. So I'm grateful. I didn't understand like the mother wounds really thing, but like, yeah, it's there definitely.
Yeah, I just like picking up from what you've said, this last part you've mentioned, there's like this craze on, I guess it's worldwide, but people will post on TikTok and they usually discuss how they are decentering their mothers from their lives because of all these things we've discussed, all these, like that negativity and all of that. So I don't know how I would be able to decenter my mom, but I think how would we be able to like maybe lessen it? Like how do we deal with that criticism or overprotection or whatever it might be, however it's showing up in your respective families, how do you then like deal with that? Because at some point you're going to know that, okay, I do have these wounds. And as you're saying, 6, because she's like such a pivotal thing, like person in your life, instead of your wound healing at some point, it will continue to,
Just
you
dig
know,
deeper.
because they will continue to criticize, or they'll continue to point out things or not point out things and be distant. So how do we like deal with that now? How do we like manage it?
Oof.
I think I'll say, like, for example, if you're somebody who has a mother wound from your mother's excessive criticism, right? Unfortunately, it's on you to kind of do the work, right? So if it means you're affirming yourself every day, because like the lady who submitted that submission about her grandmother, she says like I literally have to tell myself every morning that I am beautiful, that I am this, I am that, so that she can go out there into the world and be okay. But some days are obviously better than others. Others, it really maybe is so crippling. The thing about trauma is that somebody else inflicts it on you, and then you have to, the burden is on you to kind of figure it out. But like for me, because I gave the example of my mom like being overprotective, right? How I've been like trying to deal with that is like to say, like I'll point it out immediately, right? Like, oi, my mom and I have reached a point where like, now we have a relationship where like we can talk very honestly to each other, though sometimes like it may be like maybe I might be too honest and she'll like feel some type of way. But I think she also appreciates that I need to do that. I need to be able to say like, oi, I think you're doing too much. This is where the line is, and that's that. And even for me, I actually need to be able to kind of put my foot down and say, hey. You know, you're encroaching a little bit too much, or you're coddling me a little bit too much. And it's a weird fight to have, because it's like,
you're loving me too much.
Don't like leave me alone. You know, it's like it's always a weird thing, because my mom was like, no, but like I'm just trying to, and it's like, no, it's okay. Like I'm never going to be perfect. Like don't expect me to be this perfect person. I want to be imperfect. I want to make mistakes. I want to do all sorts of things. Like allow me just that room to do that. So yeah, for me, it's just, I find that having the conversation and just like tackling the issue head on with my mom to say, bro, I know you're also a person. Like, you know, I think when we're younger, it's like, ooh, your mom is like this person, oh my gosh, this towering individual. But really, they're just people, right? So I figured, why not have an open conversation? Or even like this, sometimes like I've even like told my mom, because for example, throughout maybe like high school, in fact, I always felt like from an academic standpoint that I was not good enough. And when I look back at like old reports, I'm like,
I was crushing it.
Wait a minute. I was crushing it. But I never felt like I was, because it was always like, this mark, it would be like 80%, right? That's a pass, bro.
That's more than a pass. That's a hard pass.
That's a pass. But it always felt like, no, you need to actually do extra lessons. What? What? I always felt like I don't think I'd ever like articulated this like to my friends or whatever, but I've said it to my mom, like, yo, you guys made me feel like I was a dum-dum, you know. Like, I remember always feeling like, I'm gonna be demoted from my stream because my God. Like, that's how hectic it was. Because I had no perception of how well I was doing, because I'm just being told that, like,
Do better.
Not to say, I was never told, oh, well, congratulations. Like, you've done well. No, it was always, no.
We want hundreds.
You can do better. 80 is not enough. You can do better. So, up until maybe like uni, that's when I kind of felt, oh, actually, I might be smart.
Really?
Yeah.
It's wild.
I think I'll just jump on where Chido left it on the communication part. I think another big part of what to do about this thing would be, one, understanding and appreciating that also the mothers are the ones who also need to do a lot of growth and healing. And from our part, I guess it would be a sense of empathy and a humanization of the mother, and realizing that they're also a person with their own traumas and wounds that they're actually dealing with. And I think it makes it a bit easier when you take it from that perspective, because, you know, it's your mom, she loves you, and she's coming from a good place. And I think that usually becomes a barrier to open conversations, which are quite difficult, like what Shido was saying. Because if I take it back to the example of my little cousin that I mentioned, I think the fact that she then got to see it from a perspective of, you know, the extended family, people like my own parents, who obviously they have a very good relationship with accepting this thing, which would also then change her perspective in the way that she looks at it. But also trying to find out what really the underlying thing is, because something like, if I think of my own mom, I spoke about the emotional distance. If I think of the way that she grew up, I don't think she really grew up around her parents a lot, which is a reality for most of that generation, where mom will be at work, dad, you know, who even is he? So you grow up around strangers. The time for, you know, emotional intimacy with the parent isn't there. And this is something that she doesn't know. So, you know, my expectations for her, then also if I take them through that lens, then it becomes less. And you get to an age where I think we can't put too much of the weight lifting on her side, and also realize that, like, I mean, if I want a closer relationship with her, you know, she wants it too. But then, you know, she might be sitting at home thinking, my kids don't call me. You know, my kids actually don't call me. She sees other kids calling their mom for every other thing. But she's like, my kids literally don't need anything from me. So if I think about it from that perspective, there's nothing that stops me from calling her or sending her a text. I think we've just gotten used to that, you know, our relationship is closer when we're actually in the same place, which is good. But then I guess keeping in touch would also be a healthy way for us to then, you know, find a way to do it. And I guess also we have a responsibility to heal from whatever wounds it is that we're having, so that we don't pass it on to the next generation. So yeah, I think that's my piece on solutions.
Yeah, I agree with you guys, especially the communication part. And there's a saying I once saw online somewhere, and it was saying at some point you need to give your parents grace, because they're also going through life for the first time too. So you might be thinking,
But they're like 50 something, bro.
You've been living, bro. You've been for 50 years, bruh.
For almost 60 years, you've been living.
But that's the thing, like, even in those 50 years, you might find someone only at 50 do they realize that they have a trauma.
Yeah.
Or only at 50, through talking to their child, do they realize they have their own pent-up shame and guilt. So yeah, I agree with you, Amanda. It's really helped me to speak to my mother about these things because when I was younger, it wasn't necessarily that I was afraid of her. It was more of like a fear of like what it said, that if you don't do the right thing, then you feel like you can't be worthy of your parents' love or of your mother's love. So yeah, it took me a while to actually start saying, oh no, but when you do this, it makes me feel like this.
Yeah.
Because usually as a child, they just throw things at you and you're supposed to take it. Or you're supposed to just keep quiet and internalize. And then later on, it now comes out in your relationships. It comes out in like the worst of ways. So yeah, it's been very important to communicate. I think communication is the first one. Very, very important. Just say, yo, bruh, like, when you say these things, do you even know that it's affecting me in this, and the other way? And then in terms of decentering, I've also done that. I don't care what she says, I must wear. I wear what I want, bro.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, like what Six was saying, it's your life. Like it's my life. I've done your degree, I've given you your degree, it's now my life to live. So yeah, I think it's very important to just try and like decenter. There are parents, yes, but they're also people. And if you need to cut them off, then do it. Like, if you don't need to talk to your parents every day, then do it. I think it's very important to like protect your peace.
Yeah. I like the theme of communication that's been talked about here. And I think that's also where like my gripe comes from, where it's like I don't feel heard. So I say something, but unless it's in the specific context of what they want to hear, it doesn't make sense. You know, and it's hard when it feels like you're screaming at a wall. It's like, yo, I am trying to meet you halfway. Like, I am trying to communicate what I'm trying to do, and at the same time understand where you're coming from, but you're not trying to meet me halfway. So there was this whole thing where, so my first 2 years of high school, I was in boarding, right, at PE, and because the bullying was a bit excessive and I wasn't like used to it, I was just like pretty much running away from hostel like every other week, you know. I was running away from hostel.
Going away.
Yeah, coming to my grandpa's house. So then I was like, yo, I cannot stay in hostel because this is just, like, for me, it made no sense why this is normal. You know? Yeah, most of my uncles and my dad, they all went to, like, boys' schools and stuff. So they were just like, you have to tough it out. Yeah, but then I was like, I don't, like, there's no reason why I have to go to school in sheer terror all the time. So now when I left hostel, there was this like a running joke in the family. Like, dude used to run away from hostel. Used to, you know what I'm saying? And they'll bring it up at even times where it's like, why does this even matter? Like, at this point. So you go through like all the things where it's like, okay, look, I passed, I did this, I did that. But then there's always that caveat of like, you know, you could do this a little better, you could do that a little better and stuff. And as the years went by, because my dad's also a dude, like I kind of found myself.
I mean,
yeah, I was kind of like, it became easier to like understand his perspective as I got older because I was just like, okay, he's just a dude, you know, trying to figure it out, you know.
Yeah.
But then with my mom, it's like it's very difficult because it's like she's intense about things, you know, like very intense about things, and like the standards are like so high, you know, they're so high, and no matter what you do, it's kind of like, you know, if it's not done in this specific way. But then if you're like, okay, I hear your point, here's a counterpoint, this is what I'm doing, you have to meet me halfway. I'm trying to talk to you, I'm trying to reach out to you, you know, and it's just like the way certain things have been handled in the family, it's like sort of like I have to create like a bubble for myself to be like, you know what? I just have to be like, I love these people, I don't love everything they do. I just have to kind of take it when they do stuff that I don't like and kind of compartmentalize because, you know, this is still my mom. Even though this segment of what she does, I don't like, and just keep it moving. Pretty much.
Yeah. All right, guys. I think we've aired out our mother wound guans.
We
Yeah.
love our moms though. Like, don't
we
get
love you,
twisted.
We love you, moms. All right, please just make sure you follow, make sure you rate this episode, and let's continue the discussion on the socials. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.